Amino and Haya left me and returned to Medina, I remained alone in Aunt Amino's house. I stayed there for 2 days, completely by myself. There was very little food, and from time to time rockets landed nearby, although most of them struck houses that had already been abandoned. By the mercy of Allah, I survived everything that was happening around me. Those 2 days passed without real sleep. Fear never left my body, and my thoughts were filled with worry, especially about my grandfather, Nur Hashi. Alas, his wife Ardo Guido, and the others who had been with them. I had no way of knowing where they were or whether they were safe. On the 3rd day, in the afternoon at around 4:30 p.m., Kuke arrived at the house where I was staying. Kuke is the eldest son of my Aunt Amina. He was accompanied by several young men, his friends, all of them, heavily armed. After exchanging greetings, I told him everything that had happened while he was away, the killings, and the fact that the bodies of the men were still lying where they had been killed for several days, without burial. Kuke was deeply shaken. He remained silent for a while, holding his head, unable to speak. Then he called his friends, who were standing outside, and said to them, "My uncles have been killed, and their bodies have not yet been buried. This area is not safe. I ask you to come with me and help me bury the dead." His friends agreed. They got into the car Kuke was driving. I told him the location of the house where the men had been killed, and he understood immediately. They went to the location and buried the body. Kuke returned later that night and told me that they had buried the dead, but they were only able to place them all in one grave. He said the bodies had been lying there for a long time and had badly decomposed, leaving no other possible way to bury them. May Allah have mercy on them all. My brother Kabdaraxman Kart Silmi Kala, my uncle Kabdarax Nur Shashi Kala, and Sheikh Mohammed. I regret that I do not know Sheikh Mohammed's full name. From what I remember, he was about 60 years old, a learned and respected Islamic scholar. He was a close friend of my grandfather, Nur Hashi Alas, and had come from the Ogaden region. All I ever heard was that he was an Ogaden elder. I do not know whether his family ever learned what happened to him. None of these men were armed. None of them had committed any crime. They were killed after performing the Dur prayer while waiting for their meal. They were killed for only one reason, because of who they were. What happened in Mogadishu in 1991 was tragically never properly recorded. No official history was written, but the truth of those events is written in the hearts of the people who witnessed them. The wounds of that time have never healed, and the questions have never been asked.
After Kukai told me that the 3 men had been buried, I felt a sense of relief. At least they were no longer left unburied. Burial, even in such painful circumstances, was better than leaving their bodies exposed. I cannot clearly remember whether it was 2 or 3 days later, but Ibrahim Arte came to visit me. He said, "Let us go to Medina. Kukai will take care of the house." I agreed, and Ibrahim and I began walking toward Medina. Along the way, we witnessed scenes that were deeply disturbing, images that still haunt my memory. When we reached KM4, we saw a large group of people gathered along the side of the road. We stopped to ask what was happening. The people told us that snipers were shooting from a tall building nearby, from School Kafar Samada, the technical school in KM4. Anyone who tried to cross the road was being targeted. It was terrifying. People began crossing the road one by one, each person running across while the others watched. When it was our turn, Ibrahim and I did the same. By the mercy of Allah, no one was hit while we were there, and we crossed safely. In KM4, we saw waves of displaced people. Everything mixed together. Some were fleeing in vehicles, but many more were walking on foot. I saw elderly people who could barely walk, disabled people with no one to help them, struggling to move away from the disaster. Women were exhausted, unable to carry their children any longer, overcome by hunger and pain. Children were crying everywhere. We also saw mentally ill people who had once been kept in government institutions, now wandering freely after those places had collapsed, hungry, confused, and begging for food. One man kept waving his hand in the air and shouting, "Hey you! Hey you, give me something to eat!" Large dogs ran through the streets, lost, hungry and confused, likely left behind by foreigners who had fled the country. People threw stones at them. I never understood what had caused such hatred toward dogs. The roads were scattered with foreign passports and documents lying everywhere. The situation was one of overwhelming sorrow, a tragedy too great for words. As we continued walking, the scenes of suffering did not end. We passed abandoned houses with doors left open, household items scattered outside. Silent evidence of lives interrupted. We walked mostly in silence. Words had lost their meaning. Gunfire and explosions echoed in the distance, reminding us that danger was never far away. By the mercy of Allah, we finally reached Medina, arriving in the neighborhood where Aunt Amina was staying. That night, we slept. The following day, around 5 p.m., many people were gathered at the house. The situation seemed calm. We were sitting together drinking tea when suddenly gunfire broke out not far from us. Within moments, the sound came closer. Until then, the area had been peaceful. People began running toward us from the direction of the shooting. Everyone stood up at once. We were told that a close relative had been killed in clan violence. Before the explanation could finish, and while people were still asking, what happened? What happened? The gunfire came dangerously close. Fear spread instantly. Everyone ran in different directions, not out of hatred, but out of pure terror. Ibrahim and I ran together. After a short distance, we stopped and looked back. There was no one chasing us. Ibrahim said, "Brother, we cannot stay here. Let us leave." I asked, "Where will we go?" "To Kismayo," he replied. I told him, "I do not know anyone in Kismayo. I will stay here and wait until the schools reopen." At the time, I believed the fighting would end within days or weeks. Ibrahim made his decision to leave. We briefly returned to the house. There was no electricity, and people were still talking about the killing. I did not personally know the relative who had been killed, though his name sounded familiar. Ibrahim packed a small bag with a few belongings and said goodbye. That night was unforgettable. Heavy artillery rained down relentlessly, the explosions so powerful that the ground shook beneath us, like a storm of fire falling from the sky.